Where's the popcorn?
Yeah, let's watch the movie.
Absolutely.
The history of science.
Long ago, people did not know how to grow their own food. So they wandered around looking for plants to eat and animals to hunt. When they could not find plants or animals, they went hungry. Me hungry. To grow food, people needed to know when the weather would be warm or cold. The early astronomers were curious, so they looked to the sky to find answers.
Click on the word curious.
They observed patterns and how the weather changed during these patterns. They began to understand the seasons. People learned to plant and harvest crops during certain seasons. Their answers solved the problem. People could now grow their own food.
I love to eat wheat bread.
After people began growing food, they gathered into large communities, like neighborhoods. But these people did not have libraries filled with books like we do today. So many of their ideas came from things they observed. During this time lived two men, Socrates and Plato. They were philosophers.
What?
Philosopher.
Oh, well, what is a philosopher?
Click on the word philosopher.
A philosopher is a person who thinks about things and tries to understand why they happened.
Sounds like philosophers are curious people.
Yes, you could say that, Polly. Socrates and Plato were curious about many things.
I'm curious to know what they did. Let's get back to the movie.
Socrates and Plato created a way of thinking and discussing ideas and opinions. They wanted people to back up ideas and opinions with evidence and proof.
It's true.
It's not.
It is.
Then prove it.
Later, Plato started a school. One of the students in the school was a man named Aristotle. Aristotle studied and wrote about many subjects, including science. He used Socrates and Plato's way of thinking and discussing scientific things. Aristotle created many rules we use for science today. One of the most important rules he created was that scientific knowledge comes from observations that can be proved. Things we see, hear, touch, taste, or smell.
I think Aristotle was really smart.
Yes, Katie, he was. But some of his ideas were not correct. For example, Aristotle believed that Earth was the center of our solar system, and the sun and planets circled or orbited around the Earth.
Wait a minute. Everyone knows it's the Earth that orbits around the sun.
Well, everybody knows that now. But a long time ago, people did not have tools like telescopes to test their ideas.
Almost 2,000 years after Aristotle lived another important man of science, Copernicus. He was also an astronomer who studied the sky. The things that Copernicus observed in the sky led him to believe it was the Earth that orbited the sun, but he could not prove it. Years later, another important man of science came along. His name was Galileo. Galileo developed the first useful telescope. He discovered moons orbiting Jupiter. He showed that everything did not orbit around the Earth. Galileo, just like Copernicus, believed the Earth orbited the Sun, and with the telescope, he could prove it.
Copernicus was right.
And Galileo proved it with the telescope.
This was an important step in science. Galileo tested his observations and ideas by gathering information with the telescope.
After Galileo, a man named Isaac Newton was born. Newton explained gravity.
Click on the word gravity.
Gravity is a force that an object has to pull other objects toward it.
Newton was the first person to understand that the force of gravity that caused an apple to fall from a tree is the same force of gravity that keeps the moon orbiting around the Earth. Newton took his ideas and studied the ideas of other scientists to confirm his findings. Newton proved that Earth and the other planets orbit around the Sun, and the Sun's gravity holds all of the planets in orbit. The history of science is found in the ideas and work of many people, including Copernicus, Galileo, and Newton. Today, the scientific method requires that new ideas be carefully investigated.
I'd watch that again.
Now, y'all know I like that movie.